All right, next part. So we've gone through, we've made the wheel, we've made everything up to that. We've got 5 parts made, hopefully. Next one is axle peg. I'm going to skip that one for a couple of reasons. There's some easier ways to get this. OnShape doesn't do the threads real well. So I'm going to clear it with Parmar. I've got a couple of different ways to get this one done. So I'm just going to hold off. That one's going to be the last one. I believe you guys can draw the linkage arm. That is one extrusion. You can get that done. I believe you can get the linkage peg if you watched a little bit about the hitch peg. You should be able to get that one done. Spherical radius 0.1562. Everything else is listed there. But the CowCatcher here, we got some things to decipher here. So let's get to deciphering. There's my wheel almost done. Let's add a new part studio, and I'm going to immediately rename that. We're going to rename that CY underscore CowCatcher. And I'm going to start a sketch. Well, let's go look at the drawing here. So where to start, where to start, where to start? Well, if I look at it, I've got these angled faces, and there's no real like angle called out anywhere. There's no way that I'm going to be able to make that cut, and honestly, it's a compound cut. So what I need to do is find the bottom edge, that like 5-sided I guess not trapezoid, that 5-sided, I don't know, kind of squished house thing. So that it's an irregular pentagon on the bottom edge, and the same thing for the top edge, and then we'll do a loft between the two. So you should have done some lofts in Inventor. So let's start on this top plane. Let me move my view cube down here. Navigate to the top plane, and I'm going to draw out a line. Usually I try to grab onto that point first, but I want to make sure that I have that other plane going right down the center line. So I'm going to do some things here. Just drawing out my general shape. Here's one of the key things. I want to see that center point highlight orange when I put in the point here. I want to line that up directly. And this isn't going to end up being vertical yet, so we'll throw that in there. Make that vertical. While we're at it, let's do and make these two sides equal. Listen to my son cry in the background and tell him that it's not so bad. If we make these two equal, suddenly we've got it so that it's symmetric, and I don't even need to like dimension it to be like right down the center. It's just going to be there by default. So I look at my overall width. I've got 1.8. My overall, I guess I would call this depth of 1 inch, and I think that's pretty much, I've got this 1/4 inch dimension as well on the side. So let's throw in some dimensions, and I've got 1 inch, or wait, no, 1.8. Hard to concentrate in here with all whaling. And 1, and 0.25, and the whole thing turned black, so that's good. We will just leave that sketch alone for right now. Now we got to go and create a new plane, and let's just turn off the other ones just for a second. Let's make them go away for the moment. And we will make another plane. Right there is our another plane, and we are going to offset that from the top plane, and 0.75? 0.75 is the height. Our width is 1.2, and our distance, we'll call it depth, out to this point on the top is 0.75. So want to make sure that I am drawing, make that plane. So on plane 1, I am looking straight down on it. I want to reference that origin point. So let's do a sketch on plane 1. We're on plane 1. Select plane 1 over there. Got it. All right, and I'm going to draw my line. Zoom in here a little bit, making sure that I'm going to be horizontal with that center point. Don't care that I'm not perfectly aligned there. Now I want to make sure that this midpoint is directly above there. And it goes in vertically. That's not vertical yet. So I'll make that vertical. We're going to type E for equals. We'll make both sides equal. We will make these two equal, and when we do so, it centers itself. Now we need to throw some dimensions on there. The key dimensions were from here to here, being 1.2. We were pretty close. Each side maintaining and being 0.25. And then from the top point to this base here, I believe that was 0.75. And there you go. So now, if I finish my sketch, I can loft between the two of them. That's a draft. There's loft. So it's select sketch 1, select sketch 2. We want to add. I guess we can't add. We want to make a new solid here to start. And it looks like that is right. It looks a little steep. Did I make that too high on the last, or the offset too high? I think I did. Go to plane, edit my plane. Offset distance was 1 inch. I'm going to bump that down to 0.75. Say check, and that looks more correct. So you see, just like Inventor, everything is, we're able to go back and adjust many things. Next thing we have in this is we've got this shell on the bottom. And I think we've all used the shell feature in Inventor. Right here we're calling out that shell depth is, or the shell thickness, that wall thickness is 0.10. So if I navigate to the bottom and say shell, there's my shell command, select that bottom face, tell it to be 0.1 inches, it is, and there you go, you've got that feature built right in already. Next step, we are going to put in, I'm going to turn off that plane, I'm going to turn off the bottom. I've got no planes on this thing now, and I'm going to put the one that goes right back down the middle, just for giggles right now, because I'm going to use it. I needed to focus on these little window insets, which say they are 0.1 off the edge, and it's typical. So 0.1 off of each edge. So if I were to sketch and select this face right here, you see that I now have, let me look at it, I have this plane that is akimbo. If I'm looking at it from the front, you see this weird sketch plane. If I look at it there, I've got this weird sketch plane. So I'm going to right click on that sketch and view normal to sketch plane. So I'm staring straight at it, and I want to just offset the edges, and I think I can do that by selecting offset, and I don't even need, just select the whole face, and you see it's offsetting in the wrong direction. I think I can click that arrow, offsets it in the other direction, hit enter, it placed it, and I want 0.1, and it now dimensioned that whole thing. There you go. I need to extrude that section back and cut away. We see the wall thickness is only 0.05 here. It's not all the way through. It's just going back a little bit less or more, depending on your view. And so I'm going to hit Shift E for extrude. I'm going to select that face, take a look at it. I want to do 0.05. I want to make sure it's going the other direction. I want to make sure it's removing that. And there you go. So it's performing a cut. Now you can see why I put the plane in there, because I only did that once. I don't want to have to go through that all again. I can easily select mirror. I want to do a feature mirror. The feature I want to mirror is the extrude. The mirror plane that I want to select is, well, the one plane that I have on there right now. And you see it's placed it over there on the other side. It should not have cut out anymore. If you did these cutouts first, your shell would be really weird. It would have this bump on the inside, so order matters. But that's almost the whole part. The last thing we need to do is put these pegs on the back. They've got a little chamfer on them. They are an 1/8 of an inch in diameter. They are 1/8 of an inch extruded. They are, this top one is 1/8 of an inch down from the top edge. I believe they're 1/8 of an inch up from the bottom edge. Let's look here. Yeah, right here we've got 1/8 of an inch. The middle one is centered, and it's 0.275 over from the edge. I think I can remember all of that. So let's draw a sketch on the back plane. Let's take a look at it. And things don't quite look, I guess they are. And let's just draw 3 circles. I'm going to make sure this first circle comes in and is snapping to that origin. I'm going to draw my other 2 circles over here. We're going to say equals and just click all of them so that they are all the same size. While I'm doing some geometric constraints, let's make these 2 horizontal with each other. And let's do that trick I did from the previous one, and let's draw in a center line, just right down the whole thing, and that way I can use the symmetric command to set those so that I really only have to dimension them one time. So dimensions, we have 1/8 of an inch on the diameter, 0.125. We have 1/8 of an inch from the top edge for this one in the center, so 0.125. I have 1/8 of an inch off the bottom edge for both of these, 0.125. And I had from that corner, I had 0.275. There you go. I can hit Shift E. I'm going to extrude those all to be 0.125 in depth. That looks right. I need to look up the dimension on my 0.01 on my chamfer. Where's chamfer? That one. Select that edge, select that edge, select that edge. Make sure that it is 0.01. Hit enter. And there's my chamfer on all of those. And there's your completed part. We've got it named here, CowCatcher. Let's name the part CY_CowCatcher. Let's change up the color to be something fun. Green. And let's make it out of ABS plastic one more time. So ABS. And we will, let's zoom in here. We will highlight the part. We will come over here to the scales of justice. Scales of justice is this thing down here. You can see, if I hover over that, display mass properties, but it looks like a balanced scale. And here are your properties that you should have. 7.002 inches in surface area, 2.66 of his volume, very light part. If you hover over them, you get the full scale there, 7.001698. I think that is all I'm going to do, all the parts I'm going to make for you. Maybe I'll go back and make the that axle peg. But I've got another solution for that one. And then I'll show you how to put this thing all together.